for us. So that'd be our closest one to Oglesby. And essentially what this looks like, the great example would be, there's a diagram in your guys' handout that's like this. So here it shows what it looks like today. It shows your community. It shows the ownership and responsibility and all the things you're responsible for. Those are also all the things that you're responsible in answering to the Illinois EPA with their increasing regulations and compliance. Also with the incoming lead service line replacement, also PFAS, PFAS, there's like 4 different names to it, and all the things that are associated with that. This is something where, this is something that we live and breathe every day. So this is something where we have basically subject matter experts at every point in the process that basically does everything that you can think of when it comes to water and wastewater. So when it comes to an opportunity, if there's ever interest to pursue this, is that this shows what a possible future would look like, where it shows water and wastewater under ownership and responsibility of Illinois American, and then it shows how we basically partner with the community and we collaborate. So kind of what that looks like is for the ones that have chose to move forward in a partnership, they had an opportunity where an employer came in on one of the new subdivision. Well, that's where we partner with them, because we want to be able to ensure we're able to put those infrastructure needs in, and we're also able to help that community grow, because it's a win-win for everybody when it comes to that. Because that's sometimes a big question that does come up is, how does this look like if we have economic development opportunities that come into town? And one of the biggest things that is completely missed when it comes to economic development is, do you have capacity for water, and do you have capacity for wastewater? And those are all the things that we take into account and think about. When it comes to kind of, I guess you could say next steps, if there were next steps, and what this would look like for you guys, is what we do is we call this called a soft proposal, where we basically collect a very basic minimal information, like your most recent audit, what your water pumped and billed is, along with how many customers and so forth. And then we provide you a soft proposal of what that could look like for your water and or wastewater. Some communities, they say, well, hey, you know what? I don't know if we're necessarily interested in this, but we would like to know what our utility is worth, maybe both or all of them. Then we can decide whether or not we want to pursue with one or the other, or we just want to table it. At least we know down the road, if this would ever become relevant, what that could look like. Because according to the Illinois EPA, I looked at your guys' intended use plan, which is, again, all publicly available information. I mean, $30 million for your phase 1 wastewater treatment plant is quite a bit. Now, I did see you guys receive $4.8 million in grant money, but it's still $25.2 million. And I last looked, you guys have a little bit less than 1,800 meters. So looking at that just from a pure principal, debt payment, that's quite a bit. And so, you guys aren't the only ones. Previously, before I accepted this job, I used to be a consultant, and I helped out with water and wastewater systems. I helped out about 60 to 80 of them across Illinois every year. And a lot of communities from a water and wastewater standpoint are having lots of challenges with the amount of infrastructure that has to take place and the costs and everything associated with it, not to mention the compliance when it comes to that. So that's kind of a brief, high-level view of our really kind of description. The other thing that kind of shared too is this one page here that kind of shows this little grid here. It says acquisition history. This kind of shows you the communities that we partnered with since 2018 of recent. And then if you look at the very back of this, this shows like the bigger communities that we have also partnered with. Some of the more well-known would be like Bolingbrook, close. Some of the ones that would be, I guess, closer to here ish would be like Champaign, Peoria, Pinkin. And then, we kind of have it in basically in 5 different divisions, but you can kind of see those. It doesn't list all 148 of them, but it just shows you kind of what that kind of looks like. So I know I kind of shared a lot. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit, but I tried to touch as many points as I possibly could in the short time that I do have with you guys. So are there any questions or anything that I shared that I can maybe unpack a little bit more for you all, or expand upon a little bit? I'm happy to do that.
Did you want to go first since it's your topic?
I'll let you guys go first. I mean,
Okay. We can go around the room.
Fine.
Do you have any questions or anything?
I'd just like to see what you come back with as far as the dollars and cents, the numbers part of it, the financials, because, you know, that's kind of what I have to tangle with in my role. So, you know, if you can come back with something, I'd like to look at it, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not alone. A lot of communities that we meet with, they're like, well, you know, we definitely would like to know what that would look like, and you know, does that make sense, and you know, how to move forward. But if that is something that is of interest to you in the board, we're happy to do that, and I can share what that data request is, and we can turn it around. It would probably take realistically 2 months before I'd be able to come back. I could do sooner, but with holidays and everything, it'll probably be, you know, January, February before I'd be able to come back and share with you what that would look like.
Now, that being the case, what about the mandate that we're under and keeping everything on a timeline for completion? Because that's really the elephant in the room here.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's something that Commissioner McDermott definitely brought up. And you know, that money you guys have reserved from Illinois EPA, at least on the intended use plan, that's reserved until December 31st of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're not here to stop anything that you're doing. We want to continue to do those things. But in situations where we've partnered with other communities that were basically in the exact same boat, is that, you know, since we have so many systems that we partner with, obviously we have a very strong partnership with Illinois EPA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always willing to work with us as we do that. So with that said, kind of like I told Commissioner McDermott, we're not here to tell you stop to do anything you're doing. Keep on doing those things. But you know, after we say we're able to get that soft proposal to be able to share with you, and if you guys decided, you know, how you guys want to move forward as leaders of your community, you know, that's when we would probably try to engage Illinois EPA to kind of see what their views are. Because typically, once they find out, you know, someone like us is, you know, involved with the level of expertise that we bring, there's a different perspective that kind of takes place. If that makes sense.
That's all I have for right now. Thank you. Thank you for answering the questions and taking the time.
Yeah, on your like soft proposal that you'll have, would it have a rate, like what we would get, our citizens would be charged for the wastewater and all that? Would that be part of that? This way here we can, you know, I'd like to see what kind of increase or whatever it would be for the citizens also. And I didn't know if that would be part of your soft proposal or not.
Yeah, so that would be part of it, where we can share where we believe you're going to land. So we are regulated. Actually, we're the most regulated. We're more regulated than the food industry. So we're regulated by Illinois Commerce Commission. So they dictate what our rates can be. So they tell us how much we can, how much revenue, how much expenses, and how much investments we can make. So that is something that we can share. And then I also can share what that can look like for you guys, because it's not like something where it's from day one, if that is something of interest, that you automatically start wherever our rates are at that particular time. It is a stair step based upon what that would look like. So we would be able to unpack that a little bit more for you.
And then would somebody like local be here to assist with everything? Or is somebody, you know, from somewhere else having to travel if we have an issue or something like that?
Yeah, no, great question. So I'm not sure. I know you guys are serviced by Test. Do you guys have any water and wastewater employees within the city, or is they all basically provided by testing?
By Test.
By Test, okay. So, well, that is a little bit of a different situation in that typically there's usually, you know, employees associated with the water and wastewater system where we would actually want them to come along with that based upon the city's approval. Because, you know, they have intellectual property, they know so much about the system. Now, this is unique because you guys are responsible operator in charge is testing, so it's not necessarily technically employees associated with the water and wastewater system, which in that case, you know, we would probably look to try to hire people that were local. We want everyone in our operations to be local, to live, to be there in the community, you know, to be basically a phone call, if not be able to walk in the door. And that's something where every of our 148 systems that we have local representation there, and that's where they live and work. So I don't necessarily have a direct answer because it's a little bit unique because you guys don't technically have employees.
Right.
So I apologize if that seems kind of vague, but we would look to have someone that would want to be in Oglesby to service either the water, wastewater, whatever you guys chose to move forward with.
Okay, thank you.
Jeremy, back to you, or do you want to
You want
defer?
to go first? I mean,
Baldridge?
With your soft proposal, maybe this would be included in there, but how do you propose to pay for the cost of the new infrastructure?
Yeah, great question. So, every year we invest about in between 250 to 300 million a year back into the systems that we've already partnered with. That all based upon, basically prioritization. So it's based upon your needs, especially with the wastewater side, that obviously takes precedence. So we recently just built a new water treatment plant actually for Lincoln, because we just built a new water treatment plant actually. One of the great things that we do with the level of expertise that we bring, especially from the infrastructure and operational, is that, we look at asset management plans, capital improvement plans, where we're able to do a phased approach, where, there might be things that we're able to do to kind of help get to where we need to be while we prepare to make those type of investments. And depending on the shape and the condition of what that is, dictate how fast that needs to take place, which I haven't seen them. That's where we have a Rolodex of experts that do that, what that could look like. I don't know, Holly, do you have anything to kind of maybe add to that?
Oh,
When it comes
yes.
to
Every year, we work with our engineers, and we determine as a superintendent just what our needs are and what's the prioritization. And I can speak to Streeter alone, like, we're in the process of putting in a new water tower. We just completed almost a $4 million UV treatment process at our plant. We look at the regulations and the changing of things that are for safety of our employees. For example, instead of having chlorine gas, we went to a liquid chlorine, sodium hypochlorite. Not only is it safer, but it's more cost efficient. So we look at things like that and work with our engineering group and prioritize our various projects throughout the state. But the other thing to think about too, as Illinois American Water, we're part of American Water as a whole. And so we also have our corporate engineers that also provide us assistance in helping us prioritize what projects that need to be done as well. So there's a gamut of expertise throughout our system.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point too, is that not only do we have locally within our state, but we also operate in 14 other states, because we provide water to 14 million people in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to serve that many people, we're actually the largest in the United States. Therefore, there's always lots of eyes on us, making sure our I's are dotted, T's crossed. And we work with all the Illinois commissions. We work with all the EPA in each of those states, where we provide to not only meet but also to exceed what those expectations are. And we also, in some cases, set those for the water in the water space as well. So that might be the best way to kind of answer that.
So when you guys will do the soft proposal, it'll give us basically a rate proposal of what you guys believe it would be. How do you recoup your cost of like the $40 million or $30 million for the facility? Will that be something above and beyond what you're going to give us a soft proposal to bill with? Will that somehow it's got to be
I mean, I
paid?
know you guys right now currently is engineered for 30 million. I don't know what was included in that. So that's where we would kind of look at based upon whatever that is, does that match what is needed? I'm not questioning what's being put in place. I'm just talking about that's something where we would look at that from an analysis standpoint of like, well, does that make sense, and does it actually properly mitigate or solve whatever challenges you're facing from, say, a wastewater standpoint? And then also, is that the most cost-effective way? Because there are many different ways to solve a problem. We always want to make sure it's most cost-effective. So like from an O&M side, typically every time we go into a system, just by our best practices, we save somewhere between 40 to 60% just on O&M alone. So when it comes to the CapEx or capital expenditure side, the investment side, we have roughly it would be close to 400,000 meters nationwide. And, basically, that's the power of, having, I guess us as as an option, as a bigger utility, is that all those costs get spread around based upon that versus, right now you guys have a little bit less than 1,800 meters. So that cost can only be spread around that much. Unless you're growing by 100 plus a year to be able to offset that cost, your cost per customer continues to increase based upon the demands that are happening in the water and wastewater space.
Mm-hmm.
So does that answer your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Excellent. Mac, did you have questions you want to ask?
Apparently you guys asked a lot of questions that I was gonna bring up, and I appreciate it. If we went on ahead and had you do it, do you see right away an increase in the price of water or wastewater or anything, or?
But from a rate standpoint,
Right.
yeah, this isn't necessarily
That
an
makes
easy
sense.
answer. So the rates would have to be approved by Illinois Commerce Commission. Okay, so the let's just say perfect world, just to try to give you a timeline, it's a long timeline. We're talking about best case scenario, like 12 months. It's a 12 to 8. Basically it's a 12 to, I'll just be conservative and say 12 to 18 month timeline. From a point of you move forward, we provide a soft proposal, you decide which one you want to move forward with, and then it goes for a request for proposal, and then it goes to what's called an APA, an asset purchase agreement. You know, so based upon that process alone, then it goes to the Illinois Commerce Commission, and just that alone, actually on page, just shows actually the timeline. This page right here. So on the front it says who we are, and then in the back it kind of gives you a very high level of what the timeline kind of looks like. I mean, just the regulatory approval process is 8 to 11 months. So when it comes to, a rate comparison is like, obviously you guys know what your rates are today, right? But we also would encourage you to find out what your new rates are going to be if you stay in your own and you pursue these capital expenditure projects on your own. So that way you can get an apples to apples comparison, if you will, but also to be thinking about what are things you're going to have to be making also in the short term, next 5 years, because that also makes big impacts to the rates. So that would be just one recommendation to make to basically be doing simultaneously as we potentially look at this as an option. Then when it comes to the rates, like I said, it's not it comes to our rates right where they're at. Now I don't know what those are, only because they tell us what those are, but I can tell you, when it comes to what our rates are today, we're currently in a rate case that we don't know what they're going to look like until really the end of this year. And then those aren't implemented until next year. So I only like to talk about current things that I know. I don't want to speculate or anything like that. I want to talk about what I know today. But the rates would go up. But like how much? I don't know what are your guys' like current base rates for water and wastewater right now?
Not sure, Lance, do you know offhand? Not sure either.
I mean, I have the chart in my head, but I mean, I probably couldn't give you a number. I know
Yeah,
I quoted
I
it some
can't
weird
give a
thing
number.
between cubic feet and weird thing because people will ask for economic development options and I have to give them the rate. I can't remember offhand.
Okay,
So.
yeah. And that's something that we'll be able to ask in part of the data request, and that's where something we would try to do a side-by-side comparison with that. And then all the while, it'd be good to find out what your debt service would be, because I also saw there's a phase 2 project for another $23 million. So you're looking at $50 million just on the wastewater side, which just to kind of give you a high-level view of just principle of what something like that would look like on the $30 million project, subtract out the 4.8 million grant, that 25.2, that equates to a $40 just principal debt service per year. That doesn't include the interest rate, which right now Illinois pays interest rates 1.87%. So I'm not sure what your current rates are now today. We can look into that, what that looks like, but that's a decent jump just from a debt service standpoint. But we're all about being transparent. We're all about sharing what that look like. I just don't want to tell you what I think it would be and then be wrong, because obviously that number is always going to be stuck in your head. That's something we want to share. Yeah.
One question on there. You guys would own the facility then, basically, is how that would work. What would we do? Like, I know there's times when we use it for economic development. We offer discounted rates and such. We'd no longer be able to offer that, right?
Yeah, so that's something we'd be able to talk to. That would be part of the negotiation process where some people have shared that. That's something where we would look at. And I can say definitively, that's something absolutely. But that is something that we would want you to bring up and be able to talk to us. Like some people bring up about swimming pools, right? Well, one of the things that we offer part of our terror recruit is that, you ask us to call, we'll ask you to put a meter on that, and then we'll be able to subtract that from a wastewater standpoint. So there are things that we will have, and that has come up in the past. But those are the things that we want to be brought up as this would be, explored further. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Matt, do you have any questions?
I don't have any more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think a lot of the questions I kind of had, a lot of the questions were asked by everybody up here. I do think that this is probably a deeper conversation that really needs to kind of happen. I really do appreciate bringing the information here because, as you know, we have an issue that needs to be resolved. So I love the fact that we're looking at all options. That's the due diligence of everything here. So the big questions I would have, obviously, wastewater treatment plant costs. Just to give you a little bit of background, our administrative order of consent at the time was the new plant was probably going to be about 15 million or so. So we had our first significant increase to water rates that we've had in the city for like about 20 years, and they pretty much doubled, right? That was supposed to carry us through for the idea if we had to pay for a $15 million wastewater treatment plant. Well, now those costs are significantly higher, right? So then that brings a lot of concern and question in there. And I know you spoke to that you're regulated. Well, this is just a concern of mine because I have to look out for the taxpayer and the residents here. FERC for energy, Federal Energy Regulation Committee.
Regulatory Commission.
Regulatory Commission. If you look at Ameren right now, I mean, their rates have gone up so much because they justify the rates and stuff like that. I feel like with this water thing like that, you're under the same kind of rule like that. And my concern is right now we get to control the water rates a little bit and we try to keep them as low as we can for our residents, just making enough margin to cover our costs for our water and wastewater programs. But the concern I think I have is the city would give that control up and then it goes to a federal regulation committee and then we don't have any control over what happens to rates. That is a big concern. So one of the things I'd love to know is I'd love to see some, like, whether it's Streeter or other cities, basically what's happened with those rates over time. So that way we have a better idea to make a more informed decision. I know you say you don't want to look at the future, but I like to look at the past to try to show what has happened. The other concerns I have is capacity changes for economic development. We have a lot of economic development conversations with people a lot. If we're going to bring a company in and we try to negotiate with them, like right now, there's one in particular, there's a loose talk about if we need to expand our water facilities. I'm really curious to learn a little bit how more that works. If you guys are a company that owns our water production and all of a sudden we have somebody that comes to the city and says, hey, we need another 400,000 gallons per day. Well, for us, we would normally be going to our engineers. They would come up with a price quote. We can give that to them and we can try to negotiate something to get a new business in here. I'm really curious because I don't have any exposure to how that works if somebody else owns our utility to try to bring somebody in. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, I think I'd start with those things. Those are the things I'd like to know a little bit more about. And again, this is great for a presentation to the community, but I think some of those more details things are what we need to kind of know before we want to push something forward, possibly, if that helps.
No, absolutely. I just real quickly, just on the economic development conversations, when those do come up, to my knowledge, we've always, if they actually are coming and they're wanting to do that, we've always been happy to do whatever needed, rehab or expansion to, say, the water treatment plant to accommodate that, because that's a win for the community. That's a win for everybody from that standpoint. And then what rates look like and so forth, yeah, happy to share that and what that could look like.
The reason that it has me greatly concerned for economic development is there's a lot of time that we'll talk about an economic development opportunity and it's something that we're not going to make a lot on the electric or we're not going to make a lot on the water, but because it brings the jobs or because it brings the increase to EAV, it's something that we're very interested in. The concern I have is once you separate the water from that, I understand from the water perspective, it's great. It's more revenue that's going to be coming in. But let's say it's a business that the city's very interested in bringing in, but it's a very low on the water revenue side of it that they would have to get. So that way, if we've separated that now, it makes me a little more concerned how that negotiation would work. Because right now the city has a lot of flexibility about how we can negotiate that. So again, I know it's probably a way deeper conversation than a council level here, but just something to consider, to think about so we can have those conversations later possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote down as much as I could. I will be sure to follow up with Commissioner Adjournment, and I have your email too. And, you know, as you guys would maybe have additional questions, please feed those questions to them, and so I can get those, so I can make sure that those are addressed and answered. Because, you know, we don't want to leave, you know, any question unanswered, essentially. And then I'll also, in that follow-up, ask how you guys decided post me being here, how you want to proceed. One thing just to share, that there is no like strings attached at any point in the process. Anybody can choose, like, you know what, we're stopping at this process, we can move forward. So I just want to be very clear, like there's no like NDAs or anything like that. I just want to let you guys know from that standpoint, because that's sometimes a question that does get asked.
I appreciate it.
So.
Any last minute, by the way?
No.
Well, thank you so
Sorry,
much.
more than 10
No,
minutes.
no,
I try to keep
no.
it-
It's good information. It's an important, obviously, decision for any community to make. So I appreciate the transparency and talking about it. So thank you.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Okay, back up to
Thank
our
you,
regular
Bruce.
order. Number 8, ordinance number 1274-120224, Rossy easement agreement. McDermott.
Okay, guys, we got the Rossy agreement. We need this to get going forward with the wastewater treatment plant. They're asking that we plant grass when we're done, and he's asking for a couple more trees. It's already in an agreement. Actually, it's pretty reasonable. Charging the city $10 and a few trees. I think that's more than reasonable. I'd like, any questions, or would you guys like to see anything?
No, I'm good with it.
Aldridge? I don't. I appreciate it. All right, we got to keep it moving. So that's all.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1274-120224, Rossy easement agreement.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aldridge.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Number 9, ordinance number 1277-120224, IGA with Oglesby Public Library. I don't have an attribution item here, but I think it is.
I'll take it.
Yours?
Yeah. So you guys saw this all last meeting.
Right.
Commissioner Baldridge and I attended the library board's meeting where they approved it unanimously. And now it comes back to us for approval. And I just want to thank Rich Vollmer and the library board just for working so well and being so understanding with everything and patient, so that we're doing it all at the same time, that we get all these IGAs out of the way at the same time. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Finley, you have anything?
No.
McDermott?
I have nothing to add.
Baldridge?
No.
Okay, only thing I have on it is, you know, I think it's a great thing to continue the IGA. I know the scope has been reduced just a little bit because of, we're not going to be necessarily in the building doing certain things there anymore. I know that this whole thing ends when our TIFs complete, but I'll be honest, even if our TIFs were to end tomorrow, I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing at least some of the services that we do to help the library out. They're a great organization. I know they're their own taxing body, but they bring a lot of benefit to the city, and they hold some functions, and they make people happy. So,
And I forgot to mention, it'll be revisited in 5 years.
it doesn't, it's not on there that it says it completes when the last one said it completed. when
It,
the
it
TIF ended.
completes, but they obviously, to look at it in 5 years.
I didn't
So
see that.
Yeah, I
Are
don't
they
remember that.
requesting that?
I was told to put that in there, Tony, but
Okay.
we could certainly make that modification, but they've approved this one, I guess.
I think the
Yeah.
understanding was that it was kind of just a handshake agreement, a gentleman's agreement to look at it again in 5 years. It wasn't necessarily like.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
says, just like the
Mhm.
other one, Tony, it would continue until the end of the agreement unless
Right.
subsequently
That's what I
modified.
thought.
Yep.
I mean, anytime we want to, now the problem with that, when you say in 5 years, that's only if both sides would want to obviously modify it. If
Yeah,
one
it's,
doesn't wanna modify it,
there's nothing, there's nothing to do there if one side or the other doesn't want to talk about it. It's just basically that you can bring it up in 5 years.
Now, obviously, the TIF doesn't end for another, I think, 18, maybe is it 18 or 19? I think it's 18.
Probably after all of our time.
Yeah, so we can't really speak to that, though, but I would like to say, if it goes into the minutes, that hopefully 18 years from now, even if it ends, that somebody who's ever up here is working with the library to try to continue as many services, especially at least grass cutting and
Yeah.
and snow plowing. These are the things that it makes it very easy for the city to absorb some of those costs. So, all right, if there's nothing else, if we can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Oglesby Public Library.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Aldrich.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Aye. Number 10, place ordinance number 1275-121624, 2024 levy on file. I don't have an attribution, but did you want to?
Yeah, I'll-
Okay, go ahead, please.
So I want to start off by thanking the clerk and the treasurer for helping with this. And just to give you guys some perspective, our levy is going to be $1,623,300. And, we just got done talking about this wastewater treatment plant. The annual payment at the best rate through the IEPA for the funding of the wastewater treatment plant would be 1.7 million. So just to put that on your radar, I want everybody to understand here, it's not that we're trying to be tight with money and things like that, but I mean, this is where some decisions have to be made. So that's all I have with that.
Finley? McDermott?
No, not this time.
Baldridge?
Nothing.
The only thing I want to say is, taxes, obviously they go up every year. The good news is I did want to point out because of the EAV that the rate is actually lower. The 2023 tax rate was, I know this is getting into the weeds here, but 0.0213642. And now we're going to 0.02089. So a small amount less, but just tax is, it is a lower tax rate. So that's the good news. I'd like to focus on that, the benefit of that.
Yep.
So, all right. And I think we're placing on file tonight.
Yeah.
So that way people can take a look at it if they're interested. If there's nothing else, we can get a motion.
I'll make a motion to place the levy on file.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aldrich.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Number 11, ordinance number 1276-120224, 2013 series bond abatement. Do you want to speak to this one as well, or?
No.
Okay, this is something that we just do every year. I don't want to get into the I think I tried to explain it one year and I might have muffled it up. So I don't want to go into that details again, unless did you want to touch on that?
Well, I can simply say that the city passed a bond ordinance back in 2013 that placed a levy every year on your books to collect. And that ordinance was given to the county clerk. So they're ready to extend it unless you say, don't extend it because we can pay that bond issue from a different source. Every year you've abated that imposed levy. So I asked Becky and she said, yeah, it's in our cards to abate it again this year.
See, that's why we have you explain it instead of me. There you go. Excellent. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about this? I kind of suspected they didn't. If we can get a motion to approve then.
I'll make a motion to approve the series bond abatement.
And I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Aldrich.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye. Okay. Old business. I don't have anything for old business. New business. The first one we have up is the closure request from Union Church. It's pretty self-explanatory. I believe the Union Church during our December 14th winter parade day, I think if I'm correct, and please correct me if I have this wrong, they are looking to do a petting zoo thing of some sort. So they want Church Street shut down as well for it. Does anybody have any questions, concerns about that? I'll just kind of go around the room. Stephanie?
I don't know.
McDermott?
No.
Baldridge? All right. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aldrich.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Kern.
All right. And then we had one new business item that, again, nothing to approve or anything, but it's on police radio consoles. Finley.
And Pat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if we need council approval because we're not using taxpayers' money. But the police station needs to purchase a new radio console for the department. The total cost of the purchase is $30,561.75. It is essential as the current radio console is outdated and replacement parts are no longer available, which compromises the communications capabilities. The funding for this purchase will come from two sources. $18,472.15 would come from the ETSB funds, and then the $12,089.60 would come from the police department drug money seizure funds. So I just wanted to kind of inform everybody. I don't really think we need council approval because it's not coming out of any taxpayers' funds or anything like that. So it's being paid totally by two different funds, and there is no cost to the citizens basically for this.
I wasn't sure that the ETSP funds were part of the drug fund. I thought that was a separate set of, it's still.
It
under
is,
20,000.
it's two separate
Yeah.
funds.
It's still under 20,000 though, but I think it is, I don't think it's the same fund though.
What, the ETSB?
Yeah, emergency.
The Emergency Telephone System Board.
Yeah. We get funding from that from the government based on our involvement, I think, with IVRD, I thought.
Right, and that's $18,472.15, and then the drug fund is paying the difference.
I mean, I don't have an issue. Well, let's go around the room. So it makes.
Go
anybody has
ahead,
any
but I
comment?
think, Don, you should make a motion to approve the expenditures, just so it's in the minutes.
Even though it's not on the
So
agenda
The
to
problem with
approve.
that, it's not on the agenda.
Well, I still think you can do it because the bills are gonna come down the line later and you
When
can
does it need to
approve
be?
them then.
Just so we don't violate anything. When does it need to be approved by or whenever?
Chief, what,
The sooner the better, but it has to wait
Is there any negative aspect of it waiting 2 weeks at all?
until some breaks. We-
Well, the safety of the
I
citizens
consider it
is
kind of an
important.
emergency. If the equipment's
that
that
if
is-
bad.
something breaks, then that's an emergency, and that's a
Right.
different scenario. And you have full authority to be able to do that anyway.
Don, if
well, it's
you,
not costing the taxpayers any money. That's why I don't think we really need council, I just want to inform
Right.
everybody that this is the
You can poll the
situation that
council.
we're in.
but
I
you
mean,
know,
if there's an emergency, nobody's going to bat an eye on that.
Right.
You have to do
Yeah.
anyways. But I'm just saying, because I want to try to keep everything as legitimate as I can, because it wasn't on the agenda. We'll go around the room. Feedback,
If it's for public safety, you got a yes vote out of me.
McDermott?
definitely a yes vote. Don, if you want to make a motion, I'll second it.
Aldridge?
I appreciate you guys bringing it up and being transparent about it. I'm in favor of it as well.
Why don't you go ahead and order the equipment? Becky, put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll approve it then.
If there'd be any reason for like an emergency were to come up, I would say you have your authorization here for an
Absolutely.
emergency use or whatever, but that way it's on the agenda and we're good to go.
Okay,
Sound good? All right, well, if there's no action, then I guess we'll move on to the next topic. Number 15, public comment on any topic. Anybody have?
Lisa Carrico. And I wanted to come and speak about some of the stuff that was said at the last meeting. I have some comments and the first thing is about the sign. I actually agreed with Mark when he came up here and spoke about that sign. The same thing went through my mind when I drove by it. I think that there could have been much more thought in the design and placement. There's so many more options than what it looks like now. And I am glad that I'm not part of the sign because I would not be happy for paying for that. But some things I was kind of curious on how a federal grant only paid for certain businesses and how an organization can charge businesses to be on it when it's on city property. The question came up on a June 17th meeting about what was going on the sign, and the commissioner of that department, in so many words, said it was none of their business. I'm in control of that department. The community that is at home watching the meeting, like me, I don't usually get to sit and watch them when they're going on, but I watch them later, may have had the same question. Nothing is in depth on the agenda, which is fine. So anytime you see something on the agenda, it says this ordinance, you have to call in and ask, what's the changes that they're, requesting, whatever, if you want any more information, and then they send it to you. So my question is, would that answer been the same for a concerned Oglesby residents? That it was pretty much none of their business because they weren't in control. Next is the thing that I really want to talk about, because this one here, about the secret meeting. The secret meeting at a local bar. I'm not sure where it was that it was a secret. The lights were on, the establishment was open, doors were open, and the people that were interested in learning more information were invited to come in. It was said people were supposedly sitting around to stick it to someone. I think that's the verbiage that was used. I did not go to the first meeting. However, the second meeting I did go. At the beginning of that meeting, they had a review on the discussion of what they did at the first meeting, how they spoke about the different forms of government, why or why not they would work for our size of town. The IML was contacted for more information. No one was bashing the current council, but they were discussing the issues that have arose over many years of different councils being up here. But here I would like to speak, you talk about a secret meeting. Now this is more of a secret meeting to me. It happened, actually various secret meetings that happened in a local bar that the establishment was closed. No lights on, not even on the inside, before commissioners said various times. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that Don Finley was not on the board when this occurred. It was the commissioner who left town for reasons you all are aware of. They even took the time to park on side streets so no one would even know that they were in the establishment. Now, to me, that's not transparency. You guys throw this transparency word around crazy. You guys are about as transparent as a brick wall, as far as I'm concerned. Having multiple secret meetings, no. In conclusion, the town's a beautiful little town with lots of opportunity and potential, and I hope it continues to prosper. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any more public comments on any topic? If not, we'll move on. Number 16, commissioner reports. Commissioner Stefanelli.
You're going to find this hard to believe. I've got nothing.
Thanks. Commissioner Finley.
Yeah, for the 14th year, the Oglesby Police Department will sponsor the Shop with the Cop program. The Oglesby Police Department appreciates the help we received for the past 13 years from our local businesses and the public combined. The program was created to help less fortunate children and their families have a Merry Christmas. For the past 13 years, with the donations from the Oglesby Police Department and those received from public and local businesses, we were able to make several families' holidays much happier. Last year, 30 children and 14 families were able to enjoy a Christmas dinner and gifts, all because of generosity of others. That brings a total to 208 children and 109 families. And they like to thank the people of Oglesby for their help and continued support. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner McDermott.
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baldridge.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Augustinia Construction and AAA Tree Service for going yesterday and helping get the Christmas tree for Seneca Square. After the parade on December 14th, there will be a community tree lighting at around 6:15, and we'd appreciate it if everyone could make it to that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mayor's report. The first object I have is just December 14th is the winter parade put on by We Are Oglesby. It should be fantastic. They've done a great job in the past with the parade. They've expanded their services of what they're doing with the tree lighting, the carriage rides. I believe there's even Santa, I believe, at the Dickinson House. So a lot of great organizations putting on a lot of good things for our community. I only have one other thing to say. Hopefully we'll get out of here soon, but let me read this here real quick. So good evening all. Last meeting, 3 of the commissioners had some prepared statements that had a lot of mistruths in it, some inadvertent, but I felt most were intentional. While respecting freedom of speech, I sat quietly and let them finish their coordinated speeches. While I did jot down some notes to try to address some of the gross and obvious mistruths on the fly, I thought I'd put thoughts to words here and address some of the other concerns. Don't worry, I will take less time than my colleagues took to spread some mistruths. While I would love to sit here and not only point out why there are so many lies, not just last meeting, but for many other instances that occur behind the scenes around here. Sadly, all that really does is make me feel better on the inside. But it would really only serve to spread more distaste and show the lack of professionalism in the city. So I'll aim to do something better and not get into any specifics of what I believe are wrongdoings of others. First, though, I do need to clarify a few things that I thought would be important at the least. I'll start on a positive note with the one thing Commissioner Finley said that I think is absolutely true. The people you place in these elected positions is indeed more important than the form of government you have. That is 100% correct. Because if you have the absolute best people that are willing to lead, your form of government really doesn't even matter. In fact, a dictatorship would be fine if you had a perfect human as a dictator. The problem with that is people aren't perfect, and the further and further you get away from perfection, then your form of government really starts to be important. The electors do get it right when they have a deep enough field of options to select from. But when your pool of potential leaders are shallow, and your form of government has a factor in creating a shallow pool in the first place, your electors don't have many options to decide from. Then your form of government is very important to ensure that people are protected from poor decision making. I won't take any more time on the lies that were said about the mayor not contacting the IML, the Plan Commission, or other cities on the topics of form of government. I think I tried to address those on the fly last meeting as all absolute hogwash. So I don't want to waste any more time on that kind of ignorance. There is one that's kind of important to talk about, though. Mr. Finley contradicted himself a bit when he said the mayor shouldn't use his position to try to get his personal views pushed. But then he was upset that the mayor didn't address the topic of form of government at the preceding meeting or go on the radio to talk about it there. First of all, do I need to point out that this was from someone who, as mayor, used his position to benefit his professional gains outside of his city role? A bit ironic. I would go into specifics here, but I just said I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, so I'll just move on. Irony aside, here's what really happened with what he's claiming. For several years now, I've had many conversations about the commission form of government and its flaws. These past 18 months, though, the conversations have increased tenfold because of the antics, decisions, perceived violence, behaviors, and professionalism displayed by individual council members, not to mention the resignation of a commissioner followed immediately by moving out of state for undisclosed reasons. Point is, residents have been upset, and I can't argue with them. These past 12 months or so, I've taken an incredible amount of personal time to research the subject thoroughly because of people talking to me about the subject, the Plan Commission chair not interested in bringing it up at a Plan Commission meeting, and our council not interested in talking about it publicly like the responsible citizens of Oregon, Illinois chose to do. So because I've had so many one-on-one conversations with people on the topic, I thought it would make sense that I connect these people with each other and give them all the information that I've gathered from sources such as the IML, the ILCMA, attorneys, statutes, and most importantly, all the various mayors I've now been privileged to communicate with that I didn't have that opportunity before becoming mayor. It was determined that because of the influence someone might have as mayor, that I should not necessarily go on the radio or talk about it publicly until people have had the opportunity to talk to others one-on-one about what they know on the subject now. I agreed with that thought process. And after speaking with the mayor of Mattoon and all the lies and attempts by several of their opposed commissioners to stop such an effort, I can confirm it was the right decision. After all, if the first place the residents hear about the concern of our form of government is from its mayor before neighbors speak to them, it plants a bias in their head already, whether positive or negative. Now that concerned citizens have had the opportunity to at least have some of these initial conversations, I have no problem speaking on the topic now, whether that is at a council meeting, a town hall, a hearing, the radio, or any other format. Also, I want to ensure the council of something. I know that as mayor, it is my duty to speak publicly on behalf of the city and this council, but do not worry. I will ensure that when I speak about the subject of forms of government, I will take extra efforts to make sure people know that I'm not speaking on behalf of a divided council and that those viewpoints are specifically mine through my knowledge, experience, and firsthand witness as mayor. Why do I bring this up? After speaking with Mattoon and the ILCMA, I got some guidance of past practices. And thus far, it seems to be following nearly identical to what they went through as far as reasons, upset citizens, elected leadership of departments, and the fact that lies and mistruths started hitting the streets the moment a petition started circulating by its residents. So I'll correct a few of the things for the record that a few of the circulators have heard these past few weeks. Number one, no, a city manager does not report solely to the mayor, giving the mayor more power. A city manager reports to the entire council. In fact, managerial form of government even removes more authority of the mayor. It essentially takes all elected officials out of the day-to-day decision-making for the city and puts them in positions to have a say over all aspects of local government equally. Number two, salaries of our city workers do not get cut if you go to a different form of government. Our salaries of our police and city workers are protected under collective bargaining contracts. Tell me, when was the last time you have seen collective bargaining agreements renegotiate to go to less wages? It is true that you won't necessarily have elected people directly negotiating them in the future. You would have a professional representing the taxpayers instead of an elected person who's more interested in being the employee's friend. Number three, the last one I heard was we can't afford a $100,000 salary. The fact is, how can we not afford it? We already have several people in the city whose compensation is more than $100,000 because they have the skills and responsibilities that are commensurate with a wage of that amount, and we absolutely need them. Right now, the city doesn't have an economic developer, a finance director, a public works director, or anyone that does centralized management. It's like we have a city of 5 separate kingdoms that's just supposed to work together. For the most part, we do work together, but there is no requirement for others to do that if they want to do something specific with the authority they have. We even have an ordinance for an economic developer for $25 an hour. It is impossible to get an economic developer at that rate for a part-time position with the skill sets we need. Even at the low rate of $25 an hour for that skill set, at full time, that alone would be over $50,000 in salary. A city manager having somewhere between $100,000 and $110,000 salary for a city of our size would solve multiple roles that we currently do not have, but truly need and would benefit from, such as economic development. My goal tonight was not to personally campaign for a change in our form of government, as much it was to combat some of the deliberate mistruths going on. I'm certain that in the upcoming months, there will be numerous town halls to allow for the education on the different forms of government and for many, many questions to be asked so they can be answered. For another commissioner, or up to 3, to try to say that something underhanded, scheming, or plotting is going on doesn't understand how formal petitions work. Didn't we see plotting going on here with 3 people having coordinated and prepared speeches? A petition is not to see if the majority wants an action. That's what polling is for and what elections decide. A petition is to see if it meets the minimum statutory requirement to see if there's enough interest on the topic to get it on a ballot. The widespread interest is obviously met. Even when creating lies, trying to identify who's circulating petitions, threatening businesses, allegedly, or efforts to discredit people are all tactics to try to intimidate others to not wanting to participate in that process. Congratulations. Some have been somewhat successful in that effort because people do have a fear of retaliation. Now, after tonight, many will likely claim that isn't true, that they would never hold people's jobs or business opportunities at bay because of something someone believed in. Point is, the perception is already there. They will have to work at fixing that perception, not only for their benefit, but for the reputation of the city as well. I would encourage people to get involved as much as they are interested in absorbing the information. I truly believe an informed population of our city will make the best decisions for its own taxpayers and the well-being of its own residents, and not if specific employees will get big enough raises or the personal feelings of its elected officials. While I won't take credit for this phrase, someone at least slightly wiser than I told me this recently. Those that pay will have the final say, and that's our taxpayers. Thanks for your time. That's all I have.
It was exhilarating.
Oh, thank you.
Round of applause.
Number 18, we have executive session for the purpose of discussing the important, I gotta get a drink now, of water, of liquid. The appointment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, 5 ILCS 120/2C1, and the operation by a municipality of municipal utility or the operation of a municipal power agency or municipal natural gas agency when the discussion involves 1, contracts relating to the purchase, sale, or delivery of electricity, 5 ILCS 120/2C23. Can I get a motion to go?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Baldridge.
Aye.
Finley.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Aye. And there is no planned actions after executive session. Thank you, everybody.
I worked with him to get some stuff done when I was mayor.
Okay.
He asked me who the mayor was, I told him, I didn't know you. I said, well, I'm gonna have him give you a call instead of.
Is there a best time to call him? I'm out of state for the next 3 days.
Really don't hurt.
Okay, I will try to call him Friday.
He talked to me last week when Frank called me back. He even told me he was gonna give him. Information. You know, so we can call it. Have a good night. I can promise you. It's not. We got to live with what.
That's why I like that. I teach. So, it's just kind of, I go to work, just kind of. Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult. So, yeah, that's, I think that's the way to look at it. I do think when we do have elections, the pool has got small candidates, and there's a lot of really, really good, really, really qualified people who would be really, would probably work really, really excellent all together, but they see this, like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be part of this. And so, and that's kind of the issue, right. Is the conflict, it's true. No matter, you're not gonna solve that issue. And not just the opinion tonight, well, I could say a lot of things about that, but I think it's not position in there. This place of work or something, and I said something on, and I thought that was kind of a really that line. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So this is this is the house, right?
It's kind of
Here, right? So the lot seems here. I go across the line like this.
I that I couldn't, right, but I don't see right now. We have something. So the only thing you would be, I know that when
all these things, you're just gonna have
all of it here. The other one is.
you know what?
But there's line born, I can't.
Yeah.
Line born like this. I'm going.
You can see it all. And then, you know, this is the person.
Right, that's not a problem. That's probably the way to go. Yeah. So we're, when you see it here, you're gonna put it on the box here.
The Buffalo box, your Buffalo box.
And I read it.
Before.
But yeah, and now I, yeah, exactly. I can learn that.
So whatever. They're all here. But they have.
Really? Water. But I don't know. This would do now. I really don't do that. No, but it's more of a wood shop. Right.
Yeah. Right. That's,
Yeah, you know how that goes, yeah.
It's one thing, I guess it's one thing to kind of be more senior, corrosive, really.
All right, no problem. I'll give you a call next time. Okay.
They may have other. The least bit. Yeah, well. Surprised by it. First time I listened to really, but his style is really, and very kind of, well, I'm gonna say it, it's, this is what it is, this is, this very kind of like, very, maybe, not sure what it is, but it's very matter of fact, very, like, I don't care, this is the way it is. Yeah, exactly. You don't like it, but that's kind of how it goes over it. It goes really funny. It was, yeah, but maybe something like I don't know. I just. just think that, I mean, I mean, honestly, I want to say effectively there was a but I only mean that in the sense that they're going to be getting pulled one way here, they're going to get that. What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to do? I don't know. I think that's, I mean, that'd be a person. I don't think it should be. I think the only side we should be on is, I guess, I hate to say that. I mean, just outside of, it do have upstairs, like, decent. You just walk. Yeah. I think that's a silver bullet. It's water being kind of silver bullet. It's very much more complicated problem. The complicated problem is understanding. Yeah. I just think that's really well, I was in something Jason a long time. I guess right. There's I guess, an ideal side thing. Get a little, and you kind of took it, which was it, but yes, guys, maybe they have an idea. Maybe you're not entirely, they have an idea. But I mean, even you could use that, and it's the work idea. Well, I don't want to say it's but like, I just think people would be this. I think people would be more receptive to your ideas if you were more receptive to their ideas. And if you're really pulling even, I'm not saying you look something that's intolerable, because obviously I think there's a massive detriment to the state. Absolutely. You should actually come to work and stand up and say no. But even if it's up there, you're kind of like, I mean, if you can even, yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And it's going to come up a lot. But it's only because people think up there, they're really not valid. They're not really a language official. But they get made out of things. It's just, like, even if it's, something, it's not reasonable things that you update. Something that maybe you're just not super good about it, even if it's not that, and then, maybe you have to soften them up and make them a little bit more receptive to something that you have to say. Like, it's just, I mean, there's a way this stuff is done. The way this stuff is done is done. Well, you're right about this. And you're going to be convinced by me, and say I'm not gonna call you names, but that is, maybe it's underpaid, it's not your heart, you're not, whatever. It's just unfortunate. I don't see, honestly, I don't really see any other, I'm probably more concerned with natural level or what needs to be versus others. I do agree with Rob there, so I'm going to. I think social media has a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, that's what this is. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And people also post a lot of things for sale, a lot of things on social media that they never say somebody's famous. So you get a lot of all the things. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not very optimistic. All we can try is a good. That's why, my approach when I go out there, yeah, exactly. I just look for people. I mean, national, I don't think representative people. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to scale. I don't know how you go about addressing it. Yeah. It's very, very yeah. I don't really think love is murder. I think you just be a comment. Yeah, either or
call, I handed, pretty much just looking at me. Another guy's, I'm like, oh, but he's gonna be busy, so when he goes around, yeah. Right. Yeah.
I've been conditioned to wince at the sound of just treating all the Canadians. It's very distinctive noise, and you hear that. And sometimes it's just like it's a random feeling most time on. But then other times it's I usually say I'll get to it. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get something. I'm at that age. I never did. But at the time, I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be kind of give me that tradition. But, you know, he stuff right now. I want to go into the world. There's other things to do. Even if I get something that I need. Sometimes I don't know. I just made the reflexes to do it. But it's been really long now. I just kind of tell myself, yeah, I'll read this later. And then 2 years later, I'm like, oh, shoot. I don't know what's going on today. So, yeah, that's
you're at the line already.
Right, so when he goes.
You start thinking that Illinois game again. Start thinking about the Illinois game again.
helping the fire department when people fall off their trees. So
Oh, and it's 40 in the month.
I think somebody told yeah.
cold in here.
It is. All right, we're back in open session. Can I get a roll call, please?
Culver,
Here.
Finley,
Here,
McDermott,
Here,
Stefani,
Here,
Kern.
Here. Number 19, can I get a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Culver,
Aye.
Finley,
here, yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Kern.
Aye, we are adjourned. I got to pack yet tonight.
You gonna use them?
I'm going to Houston until Thursday. And I haven't prepped. I have to give a presentation